There are different categories or types of networks that exist, and we've developed a taxonomy of 9 different types of these networks, and every one of them is extraordinary. They're fairly straightforward networks. We call them knowledge creation networks, and their purpose is just to do research or to generate new knowledge. And we've had these global research institutions for a long time, but now we have new models like Wikipedia or TED, for example, who exist to create new knowledge and make it available to the world. Then we have advocacy networks that are different. Their goal is to try and influence a government or perhaps a corporation. So Coney would be an example. Then we have networks that are much bigger and more expansive in their scope and what they do. And I call these global institutions. They're not state-based institutions like the UN, but they try and do a lot of things. The World Economic Forum, the Clinton Global Initiative would be examples of these. They're developing knowledge, they're convening, they're advocating, and in some cases, they're actually going and doing things. That leads to a fourth type, which are what we call operational and delivery networks. These are networks that aren't talking about stuff, they're actually solving problems. So crisis commons, for example, if a crisis breaks out, they mobilize people to go and solve the problem, to get sandbags beside the river that's flooding, or to find people buried in the rubble in an earthquake. We have what I call policy networks. These are extraordinary, where they actually have the role of developing policy, and in some cases they've been granted that role by a government, but they're not government-based, they're not state-based networks, they're multi-stakeholder. So there are many different types. One of the most interesting to me is what I call governance networks. These actually have the responsibility for governing something in the world, but they're not state-based. And in some cases, they may actually exclude states, even though they have the rights to govern. Now, ICANN, the International Corporation for the Assignment of Internet Numbers, is an example of that. It governs the internet, but it's not based on a state. So this is a starting point in helping us understand just a language, really, to talk about these extraordinary new phenomenon.